Hey guys, Arkan Templar here with a part 2 on Daenerys. I'm not going to go through her titles again, Targaryen. So, last time I kind of tried to talk about her character and I just wound up kind of rambling on about nothing because it's that hard to describe her. There's a game that Plinkett had with Star Wars Episode 1 where you had to describe a character without saying what their job is or what they did in the movie. And to describe Daenerys is extremely hard. Um, so this is kind of about her role in the series and that. So yeah, so I said she's a Mary Sue. So I can't figure out if she's supposed to be a satire or not. I can't figure out if she's played straight or not because George R. R. Martin seems to be in love with her and the creators of the show seem to be in love with her. But she's so lame. She's so utterly incompetent and utterly bad at everything, but they still seem to set her up as a special snowflake. So I don't know if she's supposed to be a messiah trope, like a parody like in Dune, or if she's like a messiah played straight. It really seems to me like they're playing her completely straight, which is strange for Game of Thrones. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of I think the funny thing about her, and this is going to get a bit political, is the guy who told me to do one about her called her the least realistic character in the show. Now I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think she's the most realistic character in the show because she's kind of like the archetypical white person. Um, there's a joke on the right stuff whenever they have their podcast that like whenever people leave they say, "Oh, he's going to go save some people with no agency." And that is a white person thing. This need to save people who have no agency or who they assume have no agency. Um, and that's basically what Daenerys gets bogged down doing. And it's funny because this desire to save people and this what often becomes pathological altruism. Dany's is particularly pathological altruism, as we'll go into. Um, tends to be stronger the more north you go in Europe. Until you get to like Sweden, which is just entirely consumed with its own destruction as some form of pathological altruism. England is very much like this too. And Daenerys, so the lighter your skin, the lighter your hair, and the lighter your eyes, the more obsessed you are with saving people. And Daenerys is so white, she has silver hair and purple eyes. Like you talk about like green and blue being unique kind of European eye colors. She has an even more special and an even more unique eye color, and she's even more obsessed with saving people. So her whole thing is that well, she wants to save people with no agency. She was going to go back and take the throne, but she decided that she suddenly cared about slavery, despite the fact that her husband was a genocidal maniac who was just a barbaric piece of crap who just like killed people for no reason, who sold people into slavery, who raided and destroyed peaceful kingdoms, and she forgives him, of course, because she's a strong, moral woman. And she doesn't really seem to have any problem with any of the stuff Drogo does, and she still calls them sun and stars. Um, so like that's kind of why I say she has no moral compass because she was okay with Drogo when he did it, but when other people do it, she like fucking crucifies them for it. Literally crucifies them for it. So she kind of was going to go back, but then she's like, no, I have to save these people with no agency. I have to bring freedom and democracy to them. I have to bring liberal democracy to Slaver's Bay. And ultimately, what Daenerys Targaryen is George W. Bush. She is. She's a neoconservative. She wants to go and impose freedom and democracy, like liberalism, upon cultures and peoples who are utterly unsuited for it. Liberal democracy only works as well as it does work, and I don't really think it does work, but it only works in very specific societies with specific cultures and people who act in a specific way. In a lot of cases, the population just can't be free. Because, like, if you look at what happened in Iraq after they took down the dictatorship, which was keeping the people in line, it turned out there was a reason that they needed an iron fist. Because the people immediately went crazy and started massacring each other. And that's pretty much what happens when Daenerys takes over Meereen. She's like, everybody's free now. We have a free and democratic system. I know she's the Queen of Meereen, but she kind of rules in a fashion that would be that's supposed to be recognizable to anyone who likes my freedoms. So she invades Meereen, she smashes the slave trade, she frees the slaves, and she's embraced by the people as being the white savior who will come and free them from lives with no agency. And she screws it up because she has no idea what she's doing. Like the whole thing where like she doesn't know how to deal with the Sons of the Harpy. She's unwilling to really be decisive, and she is a wannabe alpha female. She's even worse than Cersei, because Cersei's will has no morals, and in this show that can be you can get away with having morals, but you have to be willing to be pragmatic about your morals, and you have to be willing to take steps to ensure that you survive and you remain in power to implement your morals. But Daenerys is neither really pragmatic enough or moralistic enough to be a successful ruler. She just, if you notice, everything she does is a half measure. She listens to a bunch of people. She's the easiest to sway, easiest to convince person, but she doesn't even do that right. Because if she just listened to everything people told her, things would probably go better. But she doesn't. She at sometimes listens to people. At other times, she makes incredibly impulsive, angry decisions. And between them, she always seems to choose the worst thing. So despite being willful and being a complete pushover for anyone who really wants something from her, uh, she she is bad at both of them. Like Tommen could be a successful king because his wife is smart, and other than Cersei, most of the people who are advising him know what they're doing. If Tywin had survived and Tywin and Marjorie basically told Tywin what to do, the kingdom would have done pretty good. Then you have guys like trying to think who's some well, a guy like Tywin Lannister who knows what he's doing, and he'd be a good ruler. And he does things on his own, but he has lots of experience and he has the personality for it. Daenerys has neither, but she somehow thinks she's a leader and a ruler. And she basically, keep in mind, she knows nothing about Meereen. She knows nothing about the Giscari. She knows nothing about the culture. She has no respect for the culture. She has no respect for their gods, for their religion. She just disdains it, and she embraces this neoconservative narrative that all people are the same. That there's no differences between cultures. There's no biological difference between people. Um, all that matters is my freedom and my democracy. So she thinks, oh, well, if I just free them, then they'll be like Westerosi. They'll be a high trust society, and they'll have agency, and no one will ever want to enslave anyone again. And she doesn't understand there's a social order. And I'm not in favor of slavery. I'm proud of the fact that my British ancestors ended slavery as a worldwide phenomenon. I think it's evil. But there's ways of going about ending it. You can't just abolish a core aspect of the culture overnight and expect it to not have a negative effect, to not expect it to cause social disruption. She does it in an incompetent way because either she should have just slaughtered all of the upper class so they could not be a threat, or tried to reconcile the different classes. Instead, she took a milk toast halfway approach where she punished the upper class but left them in power while freeing the lower class and fanning the flames of their resentment. So she kind of has this strange thing where she's both trying to calm the flames while fanning them, and it's leading to absolute chaos. And in the books, they try to whitewash her a bit in the show. Um, but in the book, she like invades not just Meereen, but a bunch Yunkai and a bunch of other cities, and she sets up governments that are overthrown by degenerate masses that she empowered, and they elect tyrants and just the worst people possible, and a number of genocides happen. And she doesn't understand that in the geopolitical system, the second she leaves, all the remaining slave cities are just going to jump on Marine, re-enslave the people, and kill tens of thousands of people. The whole thing is just pathological altruism. It's just her wanting to feel good about herself, wanting to feel compassionate and to signal to everybody what a great person she is. But she has no idea what she's doing. She doesn't belong there. She doesn't belong in Westeros. And that is Daenerys Targaryen. That is who she is. She does not belong anywhere. She belongs everywhere and nowhere. She is a global citizen. She is a neoconservative who wants a new world order of liberal democracy for everyone, where everyone's just an individual with agency and there's no cultures or governments or religions. Daenerys Targaryen is George W. Bush. She's the I'm trying to remember. She's the project for the new American century, and it's hilarious that the people who like her are liberal feminists because she represents pretty much everything they claim to hate, which proves to me once again that neoconservatism is liberal imperialism. So that I'm not going to go any further because I think I've rambled on long enough. I know this wasn't the best. I know this was probably extremely confusing, rambling, and incoherent. But that's Daenerys Targaryen. It's not like Sansa, it's not like Catelyn, it's not like Ned, where they have a personality that you can analyze. She's a strange character. If this is really bad, guys, I will redo it and try and make it shorter. For the moment, thanks for watching. You guys rock the world. This is Argent Templar signing out.